When Tood Boehly bought Chelsea, he expressed the owner's clear vision. We want to make the fans proud. However, more than a year has passed since then, and all we see are 3 manager dismissals, over £1 billion spent, and a performance that resembles a team in danger of relegation. And even worse, by the time this video was recorded at the start of October, they've only won 6 games in 2023. 6! So, what went wrong? As of today, Chelsea faces a multitude of issues, and Mauricio Pochettino is one of them, as are the owners, players, and everyone at the club. Despite splurging over £1 billion on player acquisitions in just 3 transfer windows, they look average and lacking in momentum. They have appeared like a relegation side throughout 2023. In total, they've suffered 14 defeats in 2023, second only to Bournemouth, who have lost 15 times. If you were in Tood Boehly's shoes, frustration would be understandable, especially after investing in high-profile young talents like Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, Raheem Sterling, and Malo Gusto. For many Chelsea fans, the boos heard at the end of the defeat to Aston Villa reflect the club's significant regression, and these emotions are disrupting the loyalty and passion of the club's faithful supporters, something they find deeply disheartening. But let's take a step back and examine how it all began. It all started with a Ukraine invasion, which led to the UK government imposing sanctions on Roman Abramovich due to his connection with Russia's actions in Ukraine. As a result, he was forced to sell the club. Enter the new American owner, Tood Boehly, who acquired the club for a staggering £4.25 billion, carrying with him ambitious plans for change. Unfortunately, things haven't gone smoothly thus far. Boehly's initial move was to part ways with the long-serving Chelsea sporting director, Marina Granovskaya, who had played a pivotal role in the club's success over the past decade. With her shrewd signings and astute business deals, Marina had been the driving force behind a formidable recruitment team that had brought Chelsea multiple titles, both in Europe and domestically. Boehly assumed the role of interim sporting director himself, overseeing player signings totaling over £270 million, including acquisitions like Wesley Fofana, Raheem Sterling, and Aubameyang, the latter of whom wasn't even included in the Champions League squad. He later stepped down from the interim role without a replacement in place. Furthermore, Boehly made changes to the medical and physio teams in September, leading to the departure of individuals like Paco Biosca, Thierry Laurent, and Jose Calvaro, only to rehire Calvaro when Frank Lampard was appointed interim manager. Following the dismissal of the medical staff, he outsourced some of the medical responsibilities to a private company. This decision resulted in a lengthy injury list and even led to the peculiar situation where Wesley Fofana had to travel to America for a medical examination. He also aimed to leave his mark on the club by parting ways with the highly successful manager, Thomas Tuchel, who was in such demand that even German powerhouse Bayern Munich sacked their coach, Julian Nagelsmann, just to secure Tuchel's service before any other club could. Surprisingly, Tuchel was dismissed after just 6 Premier League games, seemingly due to a reported disagreement between the two, perhaps as a demonstration of Boehly's authority. Subsequently, Boehly appointed Graham Potter, who had previously impressed during his tenure at Brighton, signing him to a 5-year contract. Potter is known for his methodical coaching style, which requires time to instill in the team. However, he was let go after only 28 Premier League games in charge, despite guiding Chelsea to the quarter-finals of the Champions League after triumphing over Dortmund in the round of 16. Following this, Frank Lampard was brought in as the interim manager until the summer. The reasoning behind this decision and why Lampard accepted the job remain a mystery. Lampard's managerial track record didn't provide compelling evidence that he was the right fit for the role, and it's possible Lampard himself was aware of this. During his second stint in charge, Chelsea managed to score just 7 goals and secure 4 points in their first 6 games before ultimately finishing 12th in the league. During the summer, they brought in Mauricio Pochettino as the new manager, and his appointment was initially seen as a fresh start, a breath of fresh air, and a much-needed reset for the new owners following a disastrous first year of their ownership. However, this appointment has encountered early turbulence. The team appears disorganized, lacking a clear direction and identity. Frankly, their performance of 1 win, 2 draws, and 3 defeats in 6 matches is far from the standard Chelsea has maintained over the past 2 decades. This season, they've earned only 5 points from their first 6 Premier League games, which is their poorest start to a campaign since 1978. Under the former PSG manager, Chelsea began the season with a 3-man defense, a system that had been in place since the time of Antonio Conte. In the match against Liverpool, Axel Disasi, Thiago Silva, and the young Levi Colwill formed the defensive trio, resulting in a 1-1 draw at Stamford Bridge. The same defensive setup was maintained against West Ham, where they suffered a 3-1 loss, and also in the game against Luton Town, which they won 3-0 thanks to Sterling's 2 goals. They stuck with the same trio even in the 1-0 defeat to Nottingham Forest before switching to a back 4 formation in matches against Bournemouth and Aston Villa. Pochettino appears to show a preference for using Levi Colwill as his left back, which somewhat limits the team's attacking capabilities. This choice is somewhat peculiar because with Ben Chilwell, he has another option that provides more offensive impetus, whereas Colwill doesn't offer the same. Ideally, it's well known that Pochettino favors a flat 4 defensive setup with fullbacks who can both defend and attack. During his time at Spurs, he had players like Danny, Rose, and Kieran Trippier, while at PSG, he had Kurzawa and Florenzi to fulfill this role. The challenge at Chelsea seems to stem from Pochettino's lack of trust in Ben Chilwell's defensive abilities. However, this shouldn't be a major concern since his team is usually expected to dominate games. It's possible that using Levi Colwill instead of Ben Chilwell is a tactical move borrowed from Pep Guardiola's playbook, where center backs have been deployed as fullbacks or even in midfield roles. To some extent, this approach has been effective, with Chelsea conceding just 5 goals in 4 games. Nevertheless, with a 20-year-old Colwill at left back, the team has only conceded 1 goal in 2 games, which may represent defensive progress. However, it doesn't contribute significantly to the team's attack, and this is an area that requires urgent attention for Chelsea. One of the central issues in this project is the unrealistic expectation that young amateurs, no matter how talented, can compete for trophies. To excel at the highest level, relying on inexperienced players to challenge established winners like Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, and even Manchester United is not a viable strategy. Another concern lies in the manner in which they've offloaded first-team players. It might have been expected that veterans like N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic would stay on to mentor Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, but this didn't happen. They were allowed to leave. I do comprehend the reasoning behind this mass clearance, especially considering the influx of new players and the need to manage finances, particularly with some players commanding hefty salaries. While this makes for business sense, in the realm of football, it's starting to reveal a lack of leadership within the squad due to the absence of experienced figures. Let's be frank, purchasing 31 footballers across 3 transfer windows doesn't portray a clear sense of direction and strategy. It is simply chaos. Consequently, there's a straightforward issue, fortunately solvable through patience for Chelsea fans. What's been missing is the end result, which is a common consequence when a team is still in the process of coming together. Some critics have pointed to the lack of experience, suggesting that a youthful squad struggles to take control of matches, and there's some truth in that. However, it's also a plain fact that these players haven't spent much time playing together or in English football. This might explain why they seem rushed in front of a goal or struggle to execute fluid passing sequences. Chelsea's problems go beyond just the results. Their performance matters too. They're doing all the right things except putting the ball in the net. In their 6 games, Chelsea has fallen short of their expected goal tally, excluding penalties, by a margin of 5.7. Scoring only 5 non-penalty goals from an expected goal figure of 10.7. So they're creating scoring opportunities, but failing to convert them. Let's face it, Nicholas Jackson isn't the kind of striker who will score 20 goals in a season. At least not yet. This highlights another misstep by the owners. How can you spend £1 billion and not acquire a proven goal scorer? It's baffling. Nevertheless, there is a glimmer of hope on the horizon. The team will eventually find its stride, and when that moment arrives, they'll become a dominant force because the groundwork's already in place. However, what's currently lacking is the final piece of the puzzle: scoring goals. Despite appearances, Pochettino is building a solid foundation. All he requires, if it's not too much to request, is a bit more time. As for the owners, it might be wise for them to focus more on the present and the creation of a well-functioning team, instead of merely assembling various assets and expecting immediate performance improvements to boost their value for a future sale. Do you share the same viewpoint as our analysis? Please, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. One of the few players Chelsea didn't sign in front of Liverpool's nose was Dominic Szoboszlai. Check out how good he is in this video next. Thanks for watching.